I just found that every time I got off stage, there was always a woman standing stage left asking me, how did you do that? I don't understand. Like, why did it look so easy for you?
All right, it is Thursday, April 27th. It is 10:35. My mother's already texted me being like, where is this podcast? And I'm like, it's not ready yet. This is the Token CEO podcast. This is Erika. I'm the CEO of Barstool Sports. Before we get into it, let's say thank you to Omega Accounting Solutions. Omega Accounting Solutions, they are small business champions. What they're experts at is a little something called the Employee Retention Credit. What the Employee Retention Credit does is it rewards people who kept people employed during COVID. So if you had a small business during COVID and you were brave enough and creative enough to keep going and you kept all sorts of people employed, could be at your gas station, could be at a hair salon, could be a pizza shop, could be a cafe, could be a hairdresser, could be a media company, you name it. If you kept it going during COVID, you are eligible for something called the Employee Retention Credit. What the Employee Retention Credit does is it gives you up to $26,000 from the federal government, gives it to you back into your pocket per employee. That's $26,000 or up to $26,000 per employee. All it takes is a quick, easy, and free 10-minute consultation to determine if you qualify. Call 1-855-505-DAVE or visit omegataxcredits.com/barstoolsports now. All right, so for today's episode, we have Lydia Fenet joining us. She is an auctioneer. I think she's one of the biggest auctioneers in the world. She's a charity auctioneer. She has just written her second book. So what's cool about Lydia is she's just written a book. It's called Claim Your Confidence. She is an expert at being confident. What we talk about is how she commands a room on stage and how she gets thousands and thousands of people to give up a lot of money, which is not an easy thing to do. So Lydia joins us. I loved the interview, super interesting. Her career is kind of fascinating, and I think there's a lot we can take away from it. All right, so before we get into that though, let's just talk about this show. So one of the things that we're spending a lot of time looking at Barstool is where people are consuming content, what people are consuming content, where there's groups of audiences, what they care about, how we appeal to them, when we can be funny, how we're authentic, all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I'm realizing is that my audience and this audience is in large part on social, just like everybody else's audience. So when you look at, I was at the hair salon the other day and the nice lady washing my hair was like, oh, I listen to BFFs. I love BFFs. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Where do you listen to it? Like, do you listen to it on Apple? Do you listen to it on Spotify? Like, where do you listen? And she's like, oh, I listen to it on TikTok. And what it said to me, which is I think true for anybody who creates content here, is that where people are consuming things has radically changed. And 3 years ago, it used to be podcasts. And now it's TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. There was actually just a stat that came out that YouTube has surpassed Spotify for podcast consumption. And that kind of says it all, which is podcasts, which used to be things that you listen to, are now things that you watch on a social video platform. So we're going to take that same approach. We're going to move this thing to social. We're going to move it to video. We're going to make it more short form. So stay tuned for what that looks like. We won't do the pod the way we've been doing it now, but we will make a lot of content and hopefully we'll speak even better to the audience we're trying to reach, which is people who are trying to make it at work or people who are somewhat interested in what's happening inside at Barstool Sports. So more on that as it happens. So before we get to Lydia, let's just talk very quickly about C4. So I've got Dunkin' Donuts in here. I've got a Spindrift, which, as I've discussed in my household, is like a dressed up Sprite. And we have a lot of C4 energy. So when you are in the middle of work and you're like, the coffee isn't doing it for me anymore. I can't stand the Sprite. I really need a pick-me-up. I need more focus. C4 Energy is a great drink for you. They have all sorts of flavors. It comes in a great ombre can. I love ombre. Tried it once. Again, big hair day today. Tried it once on my hair. Didn't work. Much better in a drink. So when you're having a moment where you need a little bit more focus, you do want to get hydrated, you want to keep going for the rest of your day. For me, that's looking at the 1,600 meetings I'm going to have in the next 8 hours. I look to C4 Energy to help me get through it. If you go to c4energy.com or go to Amazon or leading retailers nationwide, you can get C4 Energy and stay focused. All right, so here's my conversation with Lydia. All right, so Lydia, tell us, you're an auctioneer.
I am.
As I understand it. So what is it? How did you get into auctioneering? Did you say auctioneering?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you get into that?
I read an article in college about a place called Christie's Auction House.
Okay.
It was a piece in Vanity Fair magazine. And essentially they were talking about this charity auction at a place in New York City called Christie's.
Okay.
And it was all for Princess Diana's dresses, and every dollar was going to be towards a charity of her choosing.
Okay.
And I just remember seeing the pictures and reading the article and being completely captivated by this place called Christie's.
Sure.
I didn't know anything about the art world. You know, honestly, at that point, when we used to go to museums when we were little, I would just sort of beg my parents to leave.
Yeah, you're like, there's a hot dog stand outside.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's an ice cream cafe downstairs. Yeah. And I read the article and I became completely obsessed with working at this place.
Okay.
And that was really how it started.
And were you like an art history major or any of that?
At that time, I had taken my first art history class a junior in college. So I declared a second major in art history and kind of took it from there. But I didn't really use the degree that much because I always went into what we called support roles. I loved being in the events department, planning the parties, or working in business development and doing the back end. It was never really the art.
The art itself. It's all the marketing of the art.
Yeah, it's all the back end of the art.
Oh my gosh, there's a great documentary. Shoot, what is it's on? I think it's at the Lost Da Vinci. Have you seen this?
I have, yes.
Which was very cool, just about the marketing of
the back end
auction
story
house and the art, the story manufacturing that creates the frenzy. Okay, so describe how does Christie's make money? Like, what is Christie's business?
So Christie's essentially makes money because people are selling art through it. So it's really a middleman, for better or for worse.
Okay.
You have a piece of art. So
I have like a Buddha Ben original.
You have
which
this
I do. This guy used to work here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smokes more pot than you will ever imagine. But anyways, he paints this. And I go to Christie's.
Exactly. So you go to Christie's and Christie's will determine whether or not there is a market for this piece of art.
Okay.
And if it is going to work in the market that we have created. Of these
and your market is customers. It's
our
like
market
rich
is
people who will buy things.
Well, that is one market, but there are also a lot of different categories within that. So when I say market, I'd say there are 80 different specialist departments where people can go in and say, okay, I'd like to sell this piece of art. This would probably go under contemporary. And they determine whether or not it's something that they think there are going to be enough buyers for.
Okay.
And they determine whether or not to put it into the sale.
Okay.
And so that's essentially the way it works. So then it comes in, there's a whole creation of marketing assets and everything, as we discussed, a social media campaign, if it's big enough. And then it goes through
and they
process.
set the price.
And they set the price, an estimate.
Now, does it have to go to charity, or are you like, I just want to sell this and pocket all the cash?
No. So if you're selling through Christie's, typically it is an art auction, which is different than a charity auction.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So an art auction, for the most part, will take place and there's a transaction between the buyer and the seller, and Christie's is facilitating the sale. If it is a charity auction, it essentially means it typically takes place offsite, and it would be a nonprofit, has an auctioneer from Christie's or elsewhere that comes and takes the auction on behalf of the charity.
Okay.
So you're on stage raising money for the nonprofit, and that's what I do.
Okay, that's what you do.
That's what I do.
Now, are you able to like be insanely succinct, talking very fast? Like, to me, that's like the number one skill of an auctioneer. Am I wrong?
It's the number one skill of an auctioneer if you are selling cattle, for sure. There's a chant and a cadence. There's a completely different style of auctioneering than the one you would typically see at a charity auction or at a Christie's auction.
Okay, got it.
Unbelievable skill
So like
set.
the horse auction people are one variety, the cattle people, and then there's the art people.
Exactly.
And are there a lot of women in these fields?
More now.
Okay, more now. Okay.
I started at Christie's in 1999. That was my first full year with a full-time job there. And at that time, there were very few women.
Okay.
I became an auctioneer when I was 24. I was definitely one of the few female charity auctioneers working at that time. And it was really interesting because it was always sort of a conversation about whether or not I was going to be able to handle the crowd, if it was going to be assertive enough, or whether or not I had a style that people would enjoy.
So you're like standing up there on the podium, you have to speak clearly and loudly, and then you're like, you know, 101 or the paddles, right? Explain that process.
Yeah, so it's not as complicated as you think. And I just taught Savannah Guthrie to do this on the Today Show, which was really funny to see it from someone who's never experience perspective. So basically, you go on stage and you introduce yourself. And what you're given is a single piece of paper that looks something like the piece of paper I'm holding right now with 3 lots. And each lot is a different item that you're selling for the nonprofit. So it's typically something like a vacation home that someone has donated, or a piece of art that someone's donated. Or like a puppy. Or a puppy that nobody actually wants to buy that evening. Yeah. So your job is not just to throw numbers out, but rather to sell the piece. So it's really a sales job.
Like everybody wants a puppy right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's 11 o'clock. Love a puppy? You've had 9 martinis. Just buy the puppy for your small child.
Okay.
So it's really, you get on stage at that point. You have, in my case, this fake auction we're creating. We have 3 lots that we're going to sell. I introduce the name of the auction. I tell everyone what we're raising money for that evening. And then I dive in. Lot number 1, ladies and gentlemen, is a beautiful Lingua Franca sweater that you're wearing right now.
Yep.
It's red. It has "Work Like a Girl" across the front. I'm saying this because Erika is wearing the sweater right now. And the bottom line is, we are going to buy this.
You're creating all these adjectives for the lot.
Exactly. You're selling it.
Do you think of them beforehand? Like, so you've got all your cliff notes for it, Or like,
I've been doing it for so long that I feel like it comes so easily.
Okay.
It's always about sort of turning it inside out. Like, why would someone buy this when, let's be honest, they probably don't want to buy it?
Yeah, they don't need it.
They don't need it. So it's about getting everyone in the audience involved, having fun, and then almost using the momentum of a full group of people staring at 2 people who are bidding on something to get them to pay more.
To feed it. Okay, I love this.
So there's a lot of psychology from stage, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and hopefully a lot of money for the nonprofit.
Okay, and how do you ready yourself for that? Because that's a moment yours is a job where you have to be so present. Like, you can't be like zoned out on your phone. Like, you're so present. So like, do you caffeinate? What's your
pre-game?
Yeah, what's your pre-game?
So I always try to remember before I go out, because I go out late at night. I have 3 kids. I mean, my days are frantic and busy, and then I don't get on stage sometimes until 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, why? Because everyone has to get drunk first?
Well, that is one side of it. Yeah. That's the hope. Typically because events take place after work. These are charity galas.
Oh, that's interesting. So you have like a night job.
I have a night job. I used to say I used to, when I was working full-time at Christie's and then had the night job, it was like I had a second shift.
Okay.
So I would go home, put the babies to bed, zip up into a cocktail dress and head out. And I think a lot of people question what I did at night.
They're like, Lydia's a working woman.
Exactly. We've had many hilarious conversations about that with people.
That's funny. Okay, I love that. Okay. Do you love cocktail dresses?
I have more cocktail dresses than you could ever imagine.
What's your go-to cocktail dress look?
It's usually a bright color.
Oh, really? I was going to say black.
Never. Used to be black when I first started. I think as I became more confident in what I do, it became all about what I really love, which is a bright color, a red, a purple, a pink. Big earrings, which I have on now as well.
Yep.
Love earrings. And I'm almost 6 feet tall, so always heels.
Okay.
Taller than everyone.
So you're like
anyway.
Towering.
Exactly.
Who is your favorite cocktail dress designer?
There's a Southern designer named Leela Rose, who I stumbled on many years ago. Friends had been wearing her, and I was invited to a sample sale in my 20s. And I honestly realized at that moment I had found a designer that really fit my stage persona and fit really well. And there are also different things to consider, as there are with any career. Like, you have to be very careful about what you wear, how close it is to your body, like where it touches your arms.
Yeah, you can't have your like bra hanging out. Like, we had this upfront presentation. Were you guys around for this? Oh my God. We had an upfront presentation. We had this big stage presentation, and I was wearing a white t-shirt, I think. And I had a very cute bra on, but it was like a light colored bra, but the strap was dark, and the strap felt and I'm like, oh my God, my bra strap I would never make it. I would make it like 6 seconds as an auctioneer. Okay. So anyway, that's your persona look. I love that.
Yeah.
Interrupting Lydia for a second. Speaking of people donating millions and millions and millions of dollars to charity, let's talk about all the millions and millions and millions of dollars you're spending on subscriptions that you do not want. So Rocket Money is helping all sorts of Americans figure out how much money they exactly spend on subscriptions, what those subscriptions are, and most importantly, how to cancel them. If rising prices or inflation or the job market or the fact that there's no media executives or personalities left, which really did happen this week, it was kind of crazy, Rocket Money can help you. It's a personal finance app. that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills. So if you're Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon or Jeff Shell, or I heard Joe Rogan's contract isn't getting renewed today, if these guys probably don't need it, but if you're somewhat like any of these people and you want to manage your money because your future may be uncertain, Rocket Money can help you. 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about, they didn't remember they're spending their money on, and chances are you are one of them. Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you, and they just hit cancel. If you have ever tried to unsubscribe from something, I'm trying to cancel this Amazon Visa card that I have. It is honestly, I Google every day, how do I cancel my Amazon Visa card? It's crazy. When companies don't want you to cancel things, they make it very, very difficult. And that's where Rocket Money comes in. They make it insanely easy. So all you have to do is stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/token. That's rocketmoney.com/token. rocketmoney.com/token. Okay, so you get your Lila Rose dress on, you've got your heels, you're like getting in a cab or an Uber or whatever, you're going uptown. What else do you do?
Hilariously, a lot of times I take the subway, which most people think is the most amazing thing
why
ever.
People think you're a prostitute. Yeah.
Well, exactly. Probably that too. But it is hilarious because I usually throw my heels in a bag. I don't wear the earrings and I wait to put the lipstick on.
Okay.
But I just find that it's the most efficient way to get around the city.
Yeah, 100%.
So here I am on the subway. No one has any idea that I'm about to take off my coat and I'm wearing this insane dress.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah. So I get there. I usually arrive if I'm not staying for the whole dinner, which because I have 3 kids, I try to get there a little bit before, but not stay for the whole event. And I'll basically just go up, grab the microphone and take my piece of paper. And you were asking about whether or not I do any prep beforehand. I typically will glance at the lots as I'm walking on stage. And then it's really about the audience. It's
so
about
you're vibing off of what they're feeling.
Absolutely.
And what happens when you have like a cold fish crowd?
Oh, every night of the week. You just have to pretend like they're not a cold fish crowd. You know,
you're like, you love me and you're
guys
so
are doing
into this.
Great. I'll say a lot of times, like I'll say something, no one laughs. I'm like, that was a joke. You guys relax. Everybody enjoy themselves. We're having a great time. You guys are doing a terrible job, but we're going to get there. I can feel confident. You know, it's never, in my opinion, the sky is always blue in charity auctioneering. It's never about anyone doing anything but good things because every dollar goes for
it's a good
nonprofit.
Cause.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great. So you've just written a book about this.
I have, yes.
And tell people about your book.
So this is my second book. It's called Claim Your Confidence, which is really a follow-up to my first book, which was called The Most Powerful Woman in the Room Is You. And it's a book about selling for women.
Okay.
And I just found that every time I got off stage, there was always a woman standing stage left asking me, how did you do that? I don't understand. Like, why did it look so easy for you? So I wrote my first book about sales because of that. And then I started hearing the same thing when I was doing my book tour for my first book with the word confidence.
Okay.
And people were constantly saying to me, how are you so confident?
Okay.
And then after COVID, it was coming into my DMs. I was getting LinkedIn requests from people. I have imposter syndrome. I don't know how to get confident. Where do I find confidence? And I think as a writer, you just find a white space.
Yeah.
And that to me felt like something I have a lot of confidence. It's been something I've developed as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
And I've realized a lot of it comes from putting myself out there a lot and getting beaten down, as you probably know.
Yeah.
It's not about things always going well.
Yeah, no, it never goes well.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. But I do believe that by showing people the mishaps and the mistrials along the way, you do realize that there are so many great ways that you can develop your own confidence by not staying in your box.
That's awesome. And what's your, like, when somebody comes up to you after the show, or what would you call it? A lot?
An auction.
What's your, like, go-to piece of advice?
My go-to piece of advice is stop listening to people around you. What do you want to do? What do you want for your life? So many of us are listening to other people, asking that question. What do you think I should do with them? Who cares? What do you want to do with your life? And that is the only thing that matters. So find that truth and work towards that truth.
Yeah, that's smart. And so what's your truth? Like, what's next for you?
I mean, I am living a big life. I'm so excited about every day.
Are you still an active auctioneer?
Oh, I take more auctions than you can even imagine. I don't think I'm off stage.
Are you an auctioning agent? Like, how does this work?
It's interesting that you asked that. That's something I'm going to be developing in the next couple of months. An agency.
An agency for auctioneers?
Yes.
Okay.
You've heard it here for the first time. I've never said that out loud.
That's amazing. We get all sorts of news on this thing.
Spoiler alert, it's happening.
Okay, you're going to create an agency for auctioneers. So yes. I am a charity and I'm looking for an auctioneer for my event. And then you're going to have a roster of auctioneers.
Because here's the thing, and this is what I've realized after almost 22 years of doing this. People spend all year creating charity events for nonprofits. This is their single biggest fundraiser. In many cases, it defines their operating budget for an entire year.
Yeah, it's like make or break.
Make or break.
Yep. So your role is really important. You're the key to the money.
And it's always the last call. You know how I know that? Because the call comes to me.
Okay.
Oh, we need an auctioneer in a month. I'm like, I book a year out, sometimes 2 years out.
Okay.
So I have for this.
So you're like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Well, also, this is critical for you. And I want you to succeed. Yeah. And I want to place the right person for you. And, it's been, especially in the past couple of months, I get 5, sometimes 6 requests a week for auctions that I can't take. So I want to be able to create a best-in-class agency.
I love that. That's so smart.
Yeah. Well, there's always a white space somewhere, right?
That's cool. Yeah. Now, can anyone be an auctioneer? Like, what do you look for in a person?
In a charity auctioneer specifically, I look for somebody who has an undefinable presence on stage.
Okay.
Once they have that, I can usually help them figure out how to be a good auctioneer.
Okay.
I don't know that everyone can be an auctioneer because you have to be able to react very quickly to things.
Okay.
I think a sense of humor is probably the most important thing as a charity auctioneer because when things go wrong, everyone's looking at you. Exactly. And so I'll be looking for that. I'll be looking for some people who are really good at public speaking. I have a number of people who I'll be going out to.
So you know the circuit.
But I want more. And I think the other component of this will be the training part of it, training up the next great class.
Yeah. So smart. That's interesting. And how do they pay you? Do they pay you per event? You have a going rate?
Flat fee.
Okay, flat fee.
I know some people do it differently, but I'll have tiers of, if you have an auction that's going to make under 100,000, if you have an auction that's going to make over $1 million, if you have an auction in some cases that makes over 20 million, there's a nonprofit for everything.
And do you charge more for a $20 million auction?
I charge a flat fee.
Regardless?
Not regardless. I charge a flat fee dependent on how large the auction is, but I only take a certain threshold at this point.
Okay, got it.
I just don't have the time.
You're like, I'm only doing the big shows.
I can only take a certain number of auctions a night. Sometimes I take 2 a night, but I try to not take more than 1 unless it's really close because I just don't like the stress.
Yeah, no, that's annoying.
2 stages in a night.
Oh my gosh. I bet do your kids go to private school?
They do.
Yeah. Okay, I bet those private schools are all over you. I feel like the private schools just have auctions all day long.
Well, I have been...
Are you like, I'm too good for you, but I'll give you one of my juniors?
I say there's always one night a year where I become, as I introduce myself that night, I'm like, good evening, everyone. My name is Beatrice Henry and Eloise's mom.
Yeah, 100%. That's great.
Auctioneer,
yeah, that's cute. Yeah. Okay. And then will you make people audition to choose them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not something that I think everyone should do. I think you need the right people on stage.
Yeah, you should only do it if you're going to be good for it.
And if you're not good for it, we can train you up.
Yeah.
And that'll be the thing. I love that I'm giving you this entire idea.
I've
literally not told anyone except for
it's so interesting.
My husband and half of Goldman Sachs when I was speaking at their conference a couple of weeks ago.
That's so smart. You should have people invest in your agency.
I might do that too.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. Yeah. I would never make it. I say the F word so much. And I'd be like...
But there could be a crowd for you too. That's the beauty of a nonprofit auction.
Okay, that's probably right. Now, why just nonprofit?
Well, I take auctions for Broad Arrow Group. I'm also the principal auctioneer for a collectible car company as well.
Oh, that's cool.
It's great. It's been something that I started last May. They split from Sotheby's and started their own thing.
A collectible car company.
Yeah, so the beautiful vintage cars that you see. And
so like Jay Leno's there every time.
People have like 20 cars in a garage and they all look at them. And this group approached me last May and asked if this was something I would ever do. And I was leaving full time at Christie's. I was taking on an ambassador role to only take auctions for nonprofits on behalf of Christie's. Yeah. And Broad Arrow reached out to me basically the same month. And I remember thinking, I don't know, like whatever. But essentially, it's the same thing as a charity auction. Yeah, it's so fun. And the collectible car world has been amazing. I'm the only female auctioneer up there. And they think it's hilarious.
That's fun. That's actually cool.
It's really fun. It's fun to be the first.
Getting people to bid on things is going to be more... People need to be entertained constantly at this point. So I think that's going to be... It's not gambling, but it kind of is. Like it's like you might win, you might lose. How gutsy are you?
And as the auctioneer, what do you say to push up that underbidder? Because the underbidder is the most important person. As long as they keep going, the bidder eventually will win.
Oh, so what do you do?
Well, you have to know what to lean into. So remember we were talking about the charity auction lot earlier. let's say we're selling that vacation home.
Okay.
I told you about. So with the vacation home, a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's a ski house. We'll do a ski house in Vermont. We'll donate it our ski house. And I'll say, if you're going to donate this, is it year round? Because some people don't like skiing, right? Yeah. So then you've opened yourself up to an entire year.
And you want it as broad as possible so that you can create the right hook.
Exactly. So I might be with my underbidder and maybe we marketed it as a ski house. And I said, sir, do you ski? And he said, I don't. I'm like, I bet you love the fall though. You love that leaf peeping? And they're like, yeah, I do. Like, you have grandkids, sir? Maybe the spring a good time for you? Meanwhile, my bidder who wants it is like, come on, wrap it up. And I'm like, no, this is all for nonprofit.
So interesting.
So it's fun to be able to sell and convince, and you have a crowd of 500 people watching. So you have that added drama. It can be very fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you try things and then they don't work and then you have to pivot very quickly and then you got to switch your attention back to this guy. That's cool.
Yeah. But you never leave the underbidder feeling like they weren't successful. That's the most important part. So if we were saying this to the woman behind the camera right now, I might say something like, she's our underbidder and she's about to say that she doesn't want it.
Oh, Mackenzie always wins. So.
Oh. Okay. So then Mackenzie's going to win. So Erika. So let's say Erika is at 9,000 and Mackenzie has gone up to 10 and I want you to go to 11. So I might say to Erika, what about spring? I'm sure you love summer in the mountains. No. Okay, fine. I know that. I can see in her eyes that she's done. She gives me the head cut off with the little, stop talking to you. And so I look at Mackenzie, $10,000 to my bidder on the left, ma'am. The good news is I know you have $9,000 burning a hole in your pocket. So I'll see you in the next
I'll be back with you.
To you for 10. So it's like always keeping the underbidder engaged.
Oh, that's so funny. It's like, it's high ROI flirting in a way. Like, do you know
charm offensive is what I often say.
Yeah, that's great. That's Absolutely. So cool. All right. So where can people find the book?
The book is everywhere you would find it. You can obviously find it on Amazon. It's called Claim Your Confidence, Unlock Your Superpower and Create the Life You Want.
Okay.
But I always say, look for an independent bookstore. It's my favorite
support
thing.
The independents.
McNally Jackson in the city has a bunch of signed copies. And then I'm on Lydia Fenet at Instagram.
Okay.
I constantly linked up for everything in terms of selling. So feel free to hop along.
Now, sorry, one last question. I know we're supposed to end on this, but why wouldn't you do training beyond auctioneers? Like, why wouldn't you help salespeople?
That'll be the third tier.
Okay, so you'll add
public speaking and sales. And I do that anyway. I started master classes during COVID to help people with sales and negotiation.
Smart. Yep.
So that'll be the next step.
That's the next chapter of it. That's awesome. Well, congratulations. It's so cool. It was great to meet you.
It was great to meet you too.
That was so fun. That's it for today's episode. Stay tuned for what we're creating in content and stay tuned for where the podcast goes next. And if you haven't already, follow us on our socials and you'll see more of us there. Also, our DMs are open, which is kind of a regrettable statement for me, but whatever. If you want to submit a topic that you want to talk about, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram at Erika, or you can find me on Twitter. I think I'm at Erika underscore. I'm at Erika_, formerly with a blue check mark. Now I don't have one. And we'll see you later.